Amaka arrived at Amanda's house. She went to the kitchen, grabbed a kitchen knife, and knocked her sister's room. When Amanda answered, Amaka, driven by years of pain and betrayal, and stabbed her sister in the stomach. Amanda collapsed, blood pouring from her wound as she struggled to speak and asked, "What did I do wrong?" Let me take you back to where it all began. Amaka and Amanda weren't just sisters. They were best friends. Growing up in their bustling Lagos home, they shared everything: clothes, secrets, and dreams. Amanda, being 5 years older, had always looked out for her baby sister. Even when their older siblings teased Amaka for being the last born, Amanda was the one who stood up for her, the one who whispered encouragement late at night when Amaka doubted herself. Amaka is a 23-year-old woman living in Lagos, Nigeria. Born into a humble family of 4 sisters, she is the youngest. While most of her elder sisters are married, it was just her immediate sister, Amanda, and her left. Their mother would often laugh, "You two are inseparable. I pray nothing ever comes between you." Little did she know, those words would one day haunt them all. When Amaka was 20, she met Emeka, a man who quickly became her world. Their bond, filled with dreams and promises, grew over 2 years. When Amaka met Emeka at a friend's wedding, it was as though the universe had shifted. He wasn't just handsome, he was kind, attentive, and shared Amaka's love for simple things. They laughed about their mutual love for jollof rice and how they both preferred reading novels over attending Lagos endless parties. For 2 years, their love blossomed. Emeka would visit her family home often, bringing gifts for her parents and chatting with her sisters. Amanda, always so friendly, would sometimes linger in their conversations. But Amaka never minded. Amanda was her confidant, the first person she told when Emeka proposed. Life seemed like a beautiful song when, after securing a job as an accountant, he whispered his desire to marry her. "When we get married," Emeka had promised her, "we will travel the world. Our first stop will be the Maldives." Amaka was on cloud 9. Her parents had accepted Emeka, and her wedding date was set. She spent months dreaming of their life together, feeling as though nothing could go wrong. But life, as it often does, had other plans. Her parents' approval came next. They accepted him with open arms. Both families met, and the date was set for the traditional bride price ceremony. But beneath all the excitement lay a strange unease, a shadow lurking in the warm embrace of family gatherings. Amanda, Amaka's big sister and confidant, appeared to radiate an unnatural happiness about the impending marriage. Amaka thought Amanda was genuinely happy for her. The day before the bride price ceremony, the shadow that had been lurking for weeks finally emerged. After Emeka's family had left, Amaka's parents called a family meeting. Amanda sat there too. Her father, Mr. Amadi cleared his throat. Amaka, there is something we must discuss. It is our tradition. No younger sister can marry before her elder sister. The words were like a punch to the chest. Amaka blinked in disbelief. But Amanda has never even... We know. Her mother interrupted, her eyes not meeting Amaka's. But Amanda is older. It is not right for you to marry first. Amanda, to Amaka's horror, nodded in agreement. It's true, Amaka. You should have known. The betrayal hit Amaka like a tidal wave. She turned to Amanda, her voice shaking. You knew this? You knew, and you didn't say anything? I'm sorry, Amanda whispered, though her eyes showed no real remorse. Amaka's world began to spin. She tried to argue, to fight, but her father's voice silenced her. If you do go against this, Amaka, there will be a curse upon you. We cannot let this happen. Emeka will marry Amanda. It's for the good of the family. That night, Amaka's heart was shattered. She lay in bed, tears streaming down her face, thinking of the life she was supposed to have, the love she was about to lose. But worse than losing Emeka was the sense of betrayal that cut through her like a knife. Her own family, her own sister, had taken everything from her. That night, Amaka's family, along with a few elders, visited Emeka's family to inform them of the tradition and their decision for Emeka to marry Amanda instead. Although Emeka's family initially rejected the idea, Emeka, whom Amaka had believed would stand by her, convinced his family to proceed with the wedding, arguing that he couldn't let all the preparations and expenses go to waste. On the wedding day, Amaka watched from the sideline, her stomach churning as Amanda, her sister, walked down the aisle towards Emeka. The same Emeka who had promised her the world now stood waiting for someone else. As Amanda and Emeka exchanged vows, Amaka felt something inside her die. She wanted to scream, to stop the ceremony, to tell the world that this was wrong. But her family stood by, silent and cold. Tradition, they said, is above all. After the ceremony, the newlyweds departed for their honeymoon in the Maldives, the same destination Amaka and Emeka had dreamed of. It was as though her entire life had been stolen piece by piece. Days turned into weeks, and Amaka's grief morphed into rage. Every night, she replayed the events in her mind. The betrayal, the wedding, Amanda's smiling face. It wasn't just Emeka she had lost. She had lost her trust in her family, her belief in love, her hope for the future. How could her family, her own flesh and blood, subject her to this nightmare? Confusion clouds her every thought. This pain is just too much to bear. Each time she sees Amanda and Emeka with their children, the dreams Amaka and Emeka once shared come crashing down. They are now living the life she dreamed of. Even the whole wedding was exactly as they had planned, down to the Maldives honeymoon. Amaka couldn't take the pain any longer. She had to act, or she feared losing herself completely. One evening, as she sat in her room, her mind spinning with anger, she made a decision. This couldn't go on. She couldn't let them live the life that was meant for her. If she couldn't have happiness, neither will Amanda. She phoned Amanda, informing her of a Friday visit to spend the weekend. She told her sister she wanted to reconcile with her. Amanda lived in Lagos, just a 30-minute drive from their family house in Oshodi. Amaka visited Amanda's home on a sunny Friday morning. Amanda welcomed her sister with open arms. That morning, Emeka had taken the children to school, and Amanda was alone in the house. As they sat in the living room, chatting, Amaka felt the rage building inside her. Amanda, oblivious to the storm brewing, went to her room to pick her phone. It was then that Amaka made her move. She grabbed a kitchen knife and followed her sister into the room. She knocked at the door and waited. As Amanda opened the door and saw the kitchen knife with her, the look of shock on her face would forever be on Amaka's mind. Amaka, what are you? Driven by years of pain and betrayal, Amaka didn't allow her sister to complete the statement. She pulled the knife and stabbed Amanda in the stomach. The knife plunged into Amanda's stomach. The sound of the blade sinking into her flesh was gruesome. But Amaka's hand moved with a mind of its own. She watched as Amanda fell to the ground, her hands clutching her own, blood pooling around her. Why? Amanda whispered, her voice weak. Why would you do this? Amaka sat close to her sister, tears streaming down her face. You took everything from me. You destroyed my life, she whispered as Amanda's life slipped. Amaka picked up Amanda's phone and called Emeka. Unaware of the tragedy that had unfolded, he answered cheerfully. His first words, "My love, I just dropped the kids to school. Please don't forget to rest. You know you're 4 months gone, and I can't wait to hold the twins in my arms." That was when the weight of her actions crashed down on Amaka. Amanda was pregnant with twins, but there was no turning back. Emeka, it's me. I've killed her. We can be together now. Then Emeka's voice became cold and horrified. He said, "What have you done?" Emeka was horrified, thinking it was a sick joke. "Stop playing," he said. "I'm coming home to take Amanda to her antenatal appointment." Still in doubt of what is happening, Emeka wasted no time. He immediately rushed home, his heart pounding, praying it was all some terrible misunderstanding. But when he arrived, the gruesome scene left no room for doubt. He found Amanda lying in a pool of blood, Amaka standing nearby with the knife in her hand. His heart was shattered, unable to comprehend the nightmare that had become his reality. He rushed towards Amanda, but Amaka blocked his way. "Call the pastor," she demanded. "We can get married now. Amanda is gone." Out of fear, Emeka pretended to agree, telling her he would bring the pastor. But as soon as he stepped outside, he screamed for help. The neighbors and youth in the neighborhood rushed in, their shock quickly turning to anger. A mob formed, dragging Amaka into the streets, where they began beating her mercilessly. The situation spiraled out of control. Tires were placed around her neck, and the crowd prepared to lynch her. Amaka pleaded, and the mob paid deaf ears to her. Just as they were about to set her ablaze, the police arrived, dispersing the crowd and saving her from being burnt alive. Someone who knew Amaka's parents called them, and they arrived moments later. Amaka's father, Mr. Amadi, was devastated. He called the day she was born. "You will rot in jail," he screamed. Her mother, too heartbroken to speak, could only weep. Amaka was arrested, dragged away in handcuffs, still pleading with the police. "Please, the pastor is coming. Emeka is my husband. They stole him from me. Please, let us be married." She was taken to the police station and eventually sentenced to life imprisonment. Only there did the gravity of her actions begin to sink in. Amanda, her elder sister, was killed in a gruesome manner by her hand, and the life she once knew was over. The betrayal of her parents and the weight of her shattered dreams had driven her to an unspeakable act, and now she would pay the price. News of Amanda's death spread throughout the country like wildfire. People whispered about the tragedy, unable to believe that such a heinous act could occur between two sisters who were once inseparable. The elders convened, speaking in hushed tones about the cause that had befallen the family, speculating about the wrath of the gods. In the weeks that followed, Amaka's parents were forced to confront the tragedy they had helped create. Her mother, consumed with guilt, blamed her husband for adhering to the outdated tradition that led to the first marriage. "This is our fault," she cried. "We lost both of our daughters." Her father, a pillar of strength, was reduced to a broken man. He visited the prison where Amaka was being held. His voice was shaky as he spoke to his youngest daughter through the bars. "Amaka, why?" he asked as tears streamed down his face. Amaka stared at him. Her eyes were cold, devoid of the warmth they once held. "You made me do it. You took away everything I loved," she said. Emeka, now a widower, struggled to cope. The weight of his own decisions crushed him. He had loved Amaka deeply, but failed to stand by her when her parents imposed their will. Now he was left to raise Amanda's children alone, haunted by his role in the unfolding nightmare. 5 years passed. Amaka remained in prison, but Emeka never forgot her. He visited regularly, bringing her food and offered her some measure of comfort. One day, during a visit, he told her he had hired a lawyer to appeal her case. "It wasn't your fault," he said softly. "We all failed you." Amaka's trial became a spectacle, drawing attention from every corner of Nigeria and beyond. Reporters flocked to the courthouse, eager to cover the story of a sister who had killed her sibling out of jealousy and rage. The courtroom was packed with spectators, friends and family members, all of them eager to witness the outcome of this tragic tale. The prosecution counsel painted a picture of Amaka as a woman consumed by envy, driven to madness by her sister's marriage to the man she loved. They showed photos of the crime scene, recounted the brutal details of Amanda's death, and played the recording of Amaka's confession to Emeka. Amaka's defense, however, took a different angle. Her lawyer, Mr. Bolaji, was a senior advocate of Nigeria, known for taking on difficult cases. He believed Amaka's rights had been violated, that the forced marriage had driven her to a state of mental instability. She wasn't in her right mind when she killed Amanda. He argued that the real culprits were her parents and the societal pressure that had forced Amaka into a life of despair. Her parents should be held accountable for pushing her to the brink. The defense lawyer highlighted the emotional comments Amaka had endured, explaining how the burden of tradition had driven her to a breaking point. As the trial progressed, Emeka took the stand. His once proud demeanor was shattered. His voice thick with emotion as he recounted his relationship with Amaka and the tragedy that followed. "I never stopped loving her," he confessed, "but I was bound by duty, by tradition. I thought I was doing the right thing by marrying Amanda, but now I realized how wrong I was." His words sent ripples through the courtroom. For the first time, people began to see the tragedy not as a simple act of jealousy, but as a complex web of societal expectations, family and cultural obligation gone horribly wrong. After a long legal battle, the court reached its verdict. Amaka was found guilty of manslaughter, but was granted a reduced sentence due to the circumstances surrounding her actions. Instead of life in prison, she was sentenced to 7 years in prison and released after serving additional 2 years with the 5 years she had already spent in prison. Upon her release, her parents called a family meeting, seeking her forgiveness. With tears in their eyes, they admitted their error and begged for her to heal with them. Amaka's heart was heavy, but she chose to forgive her family, though the pain of the past would never fully fade. Together, they prayed for Amanda's soul. At the meeting, Emeka also sought forgiveness. He blamed himself for his cowardice, for not standing up when it mattered. To the shock of everyone present, he knelt before Amanda and asked her to marry him once more, this time for love and without interference. Do you think Amaka will agree to marry Emeka after all that happened, and will her family agree to the wedding? Please subscribe to our channel and find out what happens in part 2.